Look, it's an external interview, which means anything can happen. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. The elements are kind to us. Look, I'm not going to get Piotr's surname right. It's easier to say Piotr,
or
Piotr,
or
Peter.
Peter as well, yeah.
You pronounce your surname for the listeners out there, Piotr.
Yes, Piotr Kolomyec.
So, look, Piotr, you've got a vast background in properties, not just fintech. And look, I'm really excited about fintech. I'm back from South Summit, Madrid, which was fantastic. It wasn't all about fintech. It was also about tech in general. And there were companies all the way from America looking at investing in some of these tech companies. And I thought I was going far when I was traveling from London to Madrid, but all the way from America. So fintech is really buoyant. It's a big growth market. In case you don't know Piotr from Crowd with Us. So fintech platform, prop tech platform as well. Very experienced developers in terms of property developers who created it. Rob Wilkinson, Torpatess. And also, I would say a software developer. I don't know if that's the right expression for the other Rob, P?
Head of technology. Yeah.
Technology.
Yeah.
Look, so what we're going to cover here, and look, this is just a short snapshot video. So on the 24th of October, literally 3 days from my birthday, and I'll be 42.
Happy birthday.
So look, I always put young property professionals on. It makes me feel older, though. Everyone's... each year, because we've got a remit of 35. So look, I'm delighted to have Piotr there asking the searching questions, and Jack will ask different questions to myself because Jack's a different profile. Jack Jiggins. So Jack is still in his 20s, in fact, so he's going to see things differently to the way I see things. So what we're going to cover here are some of the secrets of successful networking, or what you've experienced over the last year and a half. We're going to look at the property market. We're also going to look at who your typical client is as well. So it's not designed to be a 40 or 50 minute video. What is designed to be that type of length is the panel interview on the 24th of October. Look, in terms of Piotr and your background in property, so estate agency was where you came in. You've worked with some of the biggest names in estate agency as well. And Rob was telling me you actually met some really, really interesting people from the estate agency background who've done amazing things since. Look, you've also been involved in raising capital before you came to Crowd with Us as well?
Yes. So I did that privately. So I worked with some very prominent and well-established developers in the industry, which obviously gave me some useful experience before joining Crowd with Us, and I can definitely appreciate.
What did it teach you before joining Crowd with Us?
Number one thing is you need to be looking for capital when you don't need it, which is I guess why most people or some that don't manage to fund projects is because might be coming across as too needy when having a project lined up, next project that you might want to do. So the key advice really, I would say, is to look for capital when you don't need it, because that puts you in the negotiating position that
a stronger position.
Absolutely. So that's number one. Yeah.
So look, you've gone from raising capital as a private person or private investor to working for one of the fastest growing crowdfunding companies in the UK, which has expanded since I've known them since day one. In terms of what your role is with Crowd with Us, Piotr?
So I'm investor relations for the company. So my job involves going out, meeting different investors, spending lots of time in meetings or on the phone, addressing, let's say, objections that people have or questions about.
So just slow down
projects.
there for a second. Addressing objections. So is it mostly about the fear of being involved in something which is new, or is it about property? Is it about the platforms? Is it about crowdfunding because people are not used to crowdfunding? or is it objections about property where we are in the market right now, or is it a mixture?
Yeah, no, good question, Brendan. I think it's a bit of all of those. So obviously there is certain uncertainty in the market now, given
Brexit. People
Brexit.
love talking about Brexit.
Yeah. So there is no property conversation pretty much without mentioning Brexit. So that's one of the things. Obviously, there's the due diligence or the project type of specific questions, the market itself, and also obviously the platform, because there is many platforms out there, but I guess not all of them are doing the same job.
So just briefly, what does crowd with us do in terms of both equity and debt? That's the key thing to know.
Yeah. So we are, I would like to say, very different to some other crowdfunders out there in that we can raise both debt and equity pretty much anywhere in the capital stack. So first charge, second charge, predominantly second charge, but also raise equity, and hence that gives the opportunity to investors to have different spread of risk, projects, etc. Among the portfolio.
And Piotr, not all debt companies are the same. So, I have to admit, I split things between debt and equity, but it's not as simple as that.
No, so obviously you got senior debt. You can have mezzanine, so second charge debt. So I guess that would usually be the traditional spread, right? When it comes to that.
Okay, so look, we've briefly covered, and we haven't even gone into some of because you network on average twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, or more?
It depends, sometimes even more or sometimes less. So that depends on the weekend and depends what good events are out there.
Look, apart from my own, of course, Bequin events, that's easy to remember. And look, I go to other events. On my laptop right now, it says South Summit. I purposely went there to see. They've got 16,000 people there. I'm sure there's one or two things South Summit know that I don't know or don't necessarily think about, or something they're different approach. So look, I'm a host of different I'm at a networking event as soon as I finish this video tonight, or to be fair, it's a presentation, but for me a presentation's a great time to network as well. So some key questions about networking. People talk about the follow-up strategy. What does follow-up strategy mean to you, and how do you actually implement it?
Well, to sort of maybe even go backwards, I think that the longer it takes to develop a relationship, the more fruitful it is.
Which is interesting. I've never really considered it like that. Sometimes maybe you're a bit more determined or perseverance, but I have to admit, if I click, I click, and if I don't, I don't. But you see it as the longer time. Well, why is that? Or is that just a mindset of belief?
It's the mindset of an investor, I guess, as well, and it's obviously about you need to trust someone before you even do business with them. So I guess that personal connection comes always first before even talking about doing some real business, which I'm Polish and I'm sort of a very straightforward person, and I always like to get down to it, and if possible, and someone is keen to by the way talk about deals. But just from my experience, let's say the larger investors that I've had, either through the platform or before,
and they can be quite significant in terms of size. I have to admit, I don't want to give all the trade secrets away, but I thought it was, well, how can I put this? They are large, aren't they? Enough to, retire on if it was your own. So look, how can you build the relationship, whether it takes a long time? So what do you do in that long-term process? And when you say long-term, are we talking 1 month, 3 months, or?
So I've had recently, let's say, over £1 million investment from an investor that I met.
For one actual. Yeah, I hope we can say this.
They covered the, let's say, whole project, and yeah, I met them 3 years ago or so. So just to give you an idea of how sometimes how long it may take, but it's also how things can line up. So for me on this job I'm always working months ahead to what comes, or even a year or so. So you need to have that mindset that it does take time to build a relationship, for someone to have familiarity with you and also the project. And sometimes the project works, but maybe the time doesn't. For an investor.
So timing, okay. Look, I know there's questions about who's the typical investor, and part 2 of this video, so we're just going to take a commercial break. Part 2 of this video will be about who's the typical investor. So I say taking a commercial break, who's the commercial sponsors, apart from Crowd with Us, Connection or Architecture, Ronald Fletcher Baker Solicitors as well. Thank you.
Thank you.